Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're digging into something fascinating and honestly pretty urgent in the professional world. We're looking at the work of Santiago Duran, who's both a clinical psychologist and a marketing expert. And he's arguing that a skill most of us used to think of as soft has suddenly become the hardest currency out there.
Okay, let's just jump right in with this quote, because it's powerful. Duran isn't just offering some friendly career advice here. He's basically sounding an alarm. The message is crystal clear. The professional world is changing under our feet. And this one skill that a lot of people have just blown off, it's now absolutely essential.
So, what on earth happened? Well, Duran describes it like this. He was deep in his research, and when he finally looked up, he realized the professional landscape hadn't just shifted a little bit. It had completely exploded. It's a total restructuring of what we even consider valuable at work. And this really gets to the heart of it. That thing that so many of us filed away as a nice to have, for the creative types, it's now a core competency for everyone. Duran's analysis is pointing to a future where storytelling isn't just a bonus, it actually outweighs raw technical skill as the thing that makes you stand out. But you gotta ask, why now? Right? What's behind this sudden, almost aggressive shift? Well, according to Duran, it's the result of a perfect storm, a collision of three massive forces. We're drowning in information, artificial intelligence is on the rise, and at the end of the day, our human brains are still just human. Okay, let's get into the psychology of this because it's pretty wild. This number, 22x, that's how much more memorable a fact is when it's wrapped up in a story. It's staggering, right? This isn't just a preference, it's literally how our brains are wired to process and remember information. And this chart just slams the point home. I mean, think about it. The last time you sat through a super data-heavy presentation, how much did you actually remember a day later? The data shows us why. We hang on to about 70% of information when it comes from a story, but that number just plummets to a tiny 10% when we're only given the raw facts. And it's not just theory, you guys. The job market is literally screaming for this skill. This isn't just a nice idea, it's a hiring mandate. Right now, you can find over 70,000 marketing and communications jobs that explicitly list storytelling as a required skill. And that number, it's growing fast. And here is the great irony of our modern world. As AI gets smarter and better at all the technical stuff, analyzing data, writing code, you name it, our most valuable asset becomes the one thing that is still uniquely human, the ability to build a real connection and create meaning through a narrative. This is what it all comes down to.
All right, so if that's the problem, what's the fix? Duran actually breaks the prescription down into two parts. The first one starts with a complete overhaul of your external story, how you actually present yourself to the world.
He basically says the old school resume is dead, or at least on life support. It's just a list of tasks designed for an algorithm to scan. But the narrative CV, that's for the human being on the other side. It doesn't just list what you did. It connects all those dots into a compelling story of who you are and why any of it actually mattered.
And look, building this narrative, it's not just a fancy way to land your next job. Duran frames this as a way to take back control of your career. It's about owning your entire past, the pivots, the gaps, all of it, then clearly defining your value in the present so you can intentionally design where you want to go next. It puts you in the driver's seat.
So the narrative CV, that's the story you tell the world. But to make it really authentic and powerful, Duran says you have to go deeper. This is the internal prescription. It's about uncovering the subconscious story, what he calls your personal myth, that's actually running your career, whether you realize it or not.
Think of your personal myth as your own internal operating system. It's that story that's always playing in the background of your mind, and it dictates everything. How you see challenges, how you react to opportunities, and ultimately, if you're going to succeed or just sabotage yourself. So take a look at these. Do any of them hit a little close to home? I'm not a creative person. I have to struggle to succeed. These are those classic, self-limiting stories we tell ourselves. And the big question you have to ask is the story you're telling yourself helping you, or is it actively holding you back? And this is the real kicker. This is the deepest level of professional growth you can have. We're not talking about learning some new software or getting another certificate. From Duran's clinical perspective, this is about rewriting your own internal source code to unlock a kind of professional rebirth. It's powerful stuff.
So when you pull all these threads together, the market explosion, the external narrative CV, and this deep internal personal myth, it all points to a whole new way of doing things. It's a new paradigm, a new era for how we work and communicate and create value.
Now, Duran actually coins a term for mastering this new skill: affective vibe narrative construction. I know it sounds a little academic, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's about going beyond just, beginning, middle, and end. It's about building an emotional reality, a vibe that's so compelling that people are just drawn to it and they want to be a part of what you're doing. And that really brings us to the core of it all. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO, a team manager, or just navigating your own career. Your new primary role is to be a story architect. Your job is to build a narrative so strong that it inspires people to believe and motivates them to act.
So, look, what Duran's laying out here, it isn't some passing fad. It's a fundamental change in how the professional world works. The story of your career is being written right now, one way or another. And that leaves every single one of us with one simple but critical choice. Are you going to be the one holding the pen,